Hugh.
Hugh. I'm Ekadagh, otherwise known as Jeff Armstrong. And as always, I'm just blown away by this atmosphere here in Dorje Drubu, and as soon as I step in, it's like a instant shift of worlds. So I'm very honored to be here today talking about Tisziji Munoz, otherwise known as Bapu for us.
Yeah, so how did you come to be here? What was your bridge or your connection to Dorje and to Tisziji?
Well, I think like a lot of people, it was through Rakalam Bob Moses. And it was back in 2004. I had been hearing the name Bob Moses for years, ever since I was maybe a teenager. And after about the fourth or fifth guy, they told me, you should check out that guy Bob Moses. I said, that can't be a coincidence. So I called him. I knew someone who used to be friends with his roommate, so I got his number. I called him, and that first lesson at Rakalam's house was about 5 hours long. As you've been with Rakalam before,
Yeah,
right? Studied with him,
mm-hmm.
and it was a wealth of information, to last a lifetime musically. So I was very inspired, and it was a great lesson. But while I was there, I found out that he had a teacher, a master who taught him, a spiritual master named Tisziji Munoz. And I saw the pictures up on the wall, of Tisziji, and I remember this one picture that said Tisziji Munoz. He signed it to Rakalam and said, "I am nothing." So that struck me when I first saw that. I said, "Oh wow, who's this guy?" And the next month, Bob Moses had a gig with Tisziji at a place in Boston, and it happened to be the concert Love at First Sound. So I went to that, and that was the first time I saw Tisziji and met him, and the music just, I had heard John Coltrane, never saw him, of course I'm too young for that, but I was into him since I was a teenager. And when I saw Tisziji, I said, that's just, that's on that level, that's like, this is the real deal. This guy is deep. I'd never heard anything like that. So it was an amazing, amazing concert. And I think I bought Heart Blood that night, because they were actually selling the books that night. So I think I bought Heart Blood, and then I bought a bunch of CDs as well. I bought, was exposed to Alpha Nebula, and what else did I get? Presence of Joy, Presence of Truth. But anyways, I took the music home, and it was, then I started seeing Tisziji more through Rakalam. I would go with Rakalam to, help him with his drums, and I would be right there with Tisziji, and I would see that he not only plays the music, he lives the way he plays. Like, he lives totally in the moment. And I could see that. This was before I even was fortunate enough to come here, but just being around him, like, behind the scenes, it was just to see the way he operated was unbelievable. So.
And of that first music and of the first books you got, did you initially, what drew you initially? Was it the teachings or was it the music, or equally both?
Yeah, probably both, because I've always been interested in the eastern side of spirituality, and deeper way of life. I've always been fascinated with the monastic lifestyle, like Buddhist monks, and just not that I've ever done that, but I've just been fascinated with the whole culture. So, and I've always been fascinated with a teacher like that, a spiritual teacher, and Bapu is that, to me, and he's my teacher. He's my master, really. He's changed my life in so many ways. But yes, the music as well. The music was kind of like half and half, really. But music first, I think, because it was through Rock Alarm. So, but then I saw him, and I said, that guy is not a normal. He's not a normal guy. He's living in the ways of a great master would. So I couldn't believe it when I finally met someone like that.
And did you have any context, like a Buddhist background or any sort of other religious stuff growing up, or was Tishiji's writing and kind of Dharma your first exposure to that style of thinking or not thinking, depending on?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, I think I just always sought it out on my own, because like when I was exposed to philosophy classes in late in high school and in college, and I heard about some of the great masters like Taoism and Buddhism and Tantra and all those different forms of religion and Sufism and things like that. So I've just been always fascinated with the mystical side. And when I first got Heart Blood, I read that book, and first of all, I didn't really understand mostly what it was saying, but there was something about it, the way it made me feel when I read it. It made me feel like, whoa, I'm just a beginner, and that felt great. It's like, wow, it just was like a beautiful thing. And when I read Tishiji's books, they always do that to me. It's like they penetrate my soul to the point where things start happening in my life that are seemingly unrelated, but I know they're related to reading the books. It's like, wow, that must be from that book, and I can't explain why. It's just a big mystery. So.
Yeah. It's... yeah. And has that been your continued relationship to the teachings, is primarily through books?
Yes. And the videos, which is such a great service to humanity, in my opinion, that this is being done. So thank you for that, for bringing the technology in here and making that happen. So yeah, that, the videos and the books, And just talking on the phone with Tisziji is a trip, because I might be feeling a certain way, then I call him, even if I talk to him for 2 to 4 minutes or something, all of a sudden I feel different. Something's lifted off of me. There's like a burden that's lifted. It's something, it's indescribable. And it's just, I don't know, just through the phone, how he can have that effect. Just always amazes me.
Are you coming to understand it?
Well, to the point that maybe I'm never going to understand it. Maybe that's a good beginning.
Yeah.
For me. I understand the feeling. And when I feel it, I feel it when I talk to him. I feel it when I sit with him. I feel it when I listen to the music. And it's all the same, really. It's all the same feeling. It's all just basically one feeling. It's the feeling of complete liberation. And it stays with me. So if I come to visit him here, sometimes it stays with me for a week, sometimes for a couple days, but I go back out into the world and things just seem lighter. It's like, wow, that visit just lifted me. And I try to bring it back to my friends, and without really discussing what it is that I do, how I had that sort of lift. But I think this is great because maybe they can watch this and see, maybe I recommend that everyone checks out Tisziji, because I think you're kind of missing out if you don't. As a human being, not only, especially if you're a musician, but a human being, there's someone in the United States that's living like this, it's unbelievable to me. So
yeah,
I'm so grateful that I was able to meet him.
Yeah. And not only does he speak and write and play it, but other things exist, like time mastery. He's dealt with astrology. And have you had any experience with that?
Yes, I have. He did a reading for me, probably so I started coming here, I think 2009, and it was a couple years, I think it was 2 years before I got a reading. I think he knew that I wanted it, because he knows these things. He's tuned in. So finally, one day he said, "Oh, I know you want a reading," which I never really told him I did, but he just knew. And I came here and he did a reading for me, and I still have the book, and man, it was so right on different periods of the year that were, it just blew me away. There was this one period where of the year where it's always a little bit harder for me. There's a little bit more of an emotional crunch in my life. So it seems like through history and the history, I've always had that feeling during this specific time of year. And he said that, and he said, "Oh yeah, you gotta stay more contained and keep more less outgoing during this time of year." And I just like, wow, it's like he has a magnifying glass into my soul, It would be scary if it was anyone else, but with Tisziji, it's not scary because he's such a kind-hearted being, You know, it's his heart is so giving that it's like I trust him, you know.
Yeah.
But there's no one else like that.
Did that particular experience, was it useful to you beyond being just like really impressive that he could see so clearly?
Oh yeah, definitely. It was definitely impressive in the moment, like almost surreal. Like, what am I, in a dream right now? This guy's like reading into me.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But you know, once I worked with the book in the different time periods, and it was definitely very helpful. Like, certain times of the year, you have to expect that certain forces are out there, depending on the position of the planets and so many other factors. I mean, I'm probably not describing it right, but you know,
you've been able to adjust certain things in your life.
Yeah.
And just live smoother because of this?
Yes, I have.
Awesome.
So, like, you know, like there's a certain time of year where new projects are get off the ground easier. So I always wait till that time of year to, not that I don't do something new all the time, but you know, I really try to get new things going during this particular time period, and it seems like it always works. So I've definitely experienced some help with that.
Yeah. And more generally, being in contact with Tisziji and knowing his readings and having a very full relationship with him and, you know, his, I'd say, byproducts, his music, his writing, his video. How has that affected your life?
Oh, just in general, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, in so many ways, problems aren't the same as they used to be. You know, that seems like problems are resolved a lot quicker, and I don't really see them as problems necessarily, but I can look at them as opportunities for growth.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a huge lesson from Tisziji, through some of his books. And a particular book was Blessed Aloneness, that, you know, just being alone to me is a magical thing now. I look forward to it, you know. The silence and sitting and being by myself is so much more comfortable now. So I don't need to be out there doing things to feel like my life has any meaning. You know, just sitting there, it has meaning. So that A Blessed Aloneness did that for me. It took me a while to read it, but I think I got into it like phrase by phrase, and I think it took me like 6 or 7 months to read that. You know, I was just with it for every stanza in the book.
Yeah, his writing is. It's amazing how different it is for everybody. How different everybody's approach is, and how that changes, it seems like, for everybody as they spend more time in contact with the residents here, but also how universally useful it is to everybody.
Yes.
Like, no matter how you do it, no matter where you are,
right,
if you're in touch, wow.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, what do you make of this kind of person? Like, how would you describe Tisziji?
I would describe this person, hopefully a person of the future. Hopefully the world will have more people like this in the future. In other words, it's a highly evolved being someone who is like, if we keep evolving as a human race, who knows if we will, but if we do, I would like to say 1,000 years from now, there'd be more Tisziji type people out there living this way. But I just feel so very blessed to be able to meet someone like that, in the 2000, wherever we are, 2016, he's out there, And I know there's a lot of masters in the world, but not a lot, but probably a handful. But he's a musician too, and he plays the guitar like, basically he's really a drummer. He started playing the drums, and he plays the guitar like he never repeats himself. Nothing is ever the same, and I've never heard anyone play like that. Because his music is, I guess you could say his music is not music in the conventional sense. It's for a much higher purpose, for healing and spirit, channeling spirit. So it's just a real spiritual music. It's not just notes. He never sounds like he's playing a scale. No. There's no scales in his playing. It's just all in the moment. Every time I hear him, it just blows me away.
Yeah.
And it's the same with his book. It's same when I read his books. I get the same feeling with his music. It's like over my head, but just enough over my head that I know that I like it. And it's something that I dig, and it's something like, oh, what is that?
Yeah.
It's like a big cloud, mystery cloud right over my head.
Yeah. So who would you recommend come check this out? Like who do you feel would benefit from any sort of exposure?
Well, I think anyone would, any human being, but definitely a musician. Definitely a musician would benefit, because I think that musicians, Tisziji has me thinking differently about being a musician. I feel what I've gotten out of it is that being a musician is more than just playing your instrument, but it's harmonizing with people. And, I try to cultivate that in my life, whether it be just wherever I am, just try to harmonize with people.
You don't mean like a major third?
No, exactly. Yeah, I mean harmonize, like try to lift the vibes in the room, if possible. So sometimes there's dissonance out there, and I guess that's the natural balance of things too. But being a musician, I feel like there's a great responsibility that we have to try to wake people up more so than put them into lower consciousness, So, Tishiji's music has taught me that. And the way Tisziji approaches going out and playing in front of people, he's so tuned into the vibes of the room, and he knows what that particular room needs that particular night, as opposed to just going out there and saying, oh yeah, I'm going to play this amazing composition that I have. He doesn't do it like that. He does it every situation is different and catered always towards lifting other beings. And to me that's the most noble way to be a musician, is to be like that.
Yeah, and that he lives it.
Yeah.
Nobly.
He is it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I'm so very, very grateful.
Is there anything else that we didn't touch on that you want to say?
There's probably tons of stuff. I'll probably think of it later. I forgot about that. Because that's the thing with Tisziji is there's just even a 2-minute conversation on the phone with him is like a lesson for a lifetime, really. It's like, and I always think, I wish I had a recording of that conversation, but I never do. It's like I try to remember it. Sometimes I'll write stuff down about some of the things he said, and it's already kind of gone because it was just a what's the word? It was just a transmission of spirit in the moment, and I was like, I lost that. What was that? But there's so many things. I will say that the main thing about him is that the main thing about coming here is I feel extremely liberated when I'm here and when I leave as well.
Liberated from what?
Liberated from worries about, not that I worry too much, but I mean liberated from certain patterns of thinking. So I feel more like I want to give to people. I feel more heart resonance with people just in general. Like I feel a lot more compassion to people when I after a visit with Tisziji, and listening to his music does the same thing, and that's why these videos are very helpful too, because it's a way to tune in to what he's doing here, and it's the world needs it, and I support it 100%. It's the practice for my lifetime,
Well, thank you for your practice and for sharing this.
Thank you.
Sharing your experience, also for being a part of it.
Yes, and thank you. Thank you for having me and filming and asking the questions and making it smooth for me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Hugh.
Love always. Hugh.
Hugh.